Okay.
Hello, Ellie Witzke. Welcome to Pasos del Camino, a project about the Camino Santiago, or the Western Chain, so how we wanted to put it, to the Camino Santiago, and talking about something so special as in Santiago. And it's really, really, really a pleasure to have you here for sharing our Caminos and sharing our love for the Camino. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. This is always an exciting kind of time for me to be able to share anything about the Camino. So thank you.
So, Ellie, let's start from the beginning, right? So, how did you find about it? How did you decide that, okay, I need this, I need to walk this, I need to do this? So tell me about your first steps on the Camino.
Okay, oh my. So back in 2011 was my first Camino. And I really didn't know much about the Camino de Santiago at that time. I was a minister in a Mennonite church here in Ontario. I've have a history of both teaching and pastoring and working in and among peace and justice issues. I was very tired and I was on a sabbatical. So I had a friend who said she was going to go for a long walk. And I said, I'll come. And I committed to a walk before I even knew anything about it. I just said, where is it? And she says, it'll be in Spain. And I said, definitely going to be there with you. And so at that point, I decided I better find out more about what this Camino is all about, since I now committed to doing a long, long walk. And so I just investigated and looked up everything online and just became very excited for the fact that it was an actual pilgrimage, because as a minister, I was very exhausted from my work and I loved what I was doing, but I needed that break. And I thought, what better than to walk a Camino, a pilgrimage, which aligns with my own faith. So that's how I started down the journey on my first Camino. It was nothing that I expected, but then I didn't know what really to expect.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Did you remember? So, I can remember my first Camino when I decided to walk it. My first Camino was to do the Camino, but I was on bicycle. But when I decided to go on to the Camino, it was like you, I didn't know very much about it. And I remember the first pilgrim that I met. It was a German guy, German old guy, and we like with this art aspect, rough aspect, like these rough images. For someone who was be walking a long time, and I started talking to him with my very difficult English by that time. And he basically told me something like he was living on the Camino for the period of 9 years and 40 months. This was 6 years ago.
Yes.
That was the first pilgrim that I met, someone that is living on the Camino. That was outstanding. That was really, really amazing for me. That was like one of my first big impressions of, okay, what is this? So did you remember when on the Camino, what was your first big impression of walking something like the way of St. James?
So two things. I remember leaving Saint Jean Pied de Port, and at about 4 kilometers leaving, going up that big hill, that first hill up the mountain, I thought, oh my goodness, this is harder than I thought, because it was straight up that hill. I wasn't really in shape. I didn't really take care of myself in terms of walking and being like trained for this walk. So physically, I was tired, and I sat down on a rock and I opened up my little bag and I started eating an apple, because I thought this apple is putting weight on me, so get rid of it. So I started eating it, and I was really thinking about, oh my goodness, this is really real. I am actually walking, and I'm planning to walk like 800 kilometers. It just hit me so hard, because it is nothing that I have thought of doing before. And shortly thereafter, I got up and started walking with all my gusto. And shortly thereafter, it started to rain. And, there I was taking my raincoat out of my backpack. And as I was doing that, this woman walked by me in her red rain poncho that was the word "Bon Camino," and she yelled back, yeah, Bon Camino. Well, this woman I met then in Orizon later, and a long story short is that for my first Camino, she was in and out of my Camino in different times, just like, when you start walking, you meet the same person again and again. Well, she became my soul sister, and we have now walked 2 other Caminos in 2017 and then 2019. And the bond that the Camino has given us, she is from Germany, I am from Canada. She has visited me in Canada, I have visited her in Germany, and we've walked these Caminos together. That bond and connection just grew because of the Camino, our love for the Camino. And so the Camino gives you gifts, and it keeps on giving, right? Like even when you're off the Camino, right? Like,
definitely.
It just blossoms into relationships, friendships, connections, new understanding, right? Like all those important pieces that make life so engaging and invigorating, right?
For example, because of that, I sometimes just have like the feeling why this is happening to me, why I am so special for things like this happen to me. For example, 2 days ago, next Saturday, I was hospitalized on the Alberg, doing some volunteer work, and I just had one pilgrim on that day, last Saturday, and it was an Italian guy. And suddenly we started talking. He speaks very well Spanish. We started talking, that we realized that we had friends in common.
Yes.
You know, that's amazing. The only pilgrim, the first pilgrim of this year while I'm being an hospitalero, was someone with friends in common. That is outstanding. That is amazing. That's awesome. And just that feeling, I know. I just felt that I'm so blessed,
Yeah.
to be able.
Well, my first Camino was really transformative. It was as if I was going on that Camino, and I didn't even realize this until I was walking. And in the Meseta, it really dawned on me that, I felt like I came alive. I don't know how else to put it. I tell people that my first Camino was like a resurrection experience. I was dead. I walked my Camino, and on the Camino, I came alive. And that comes from a place of someone who has profound, strong faith, and I've had a beautiful life, and I've done interesting and amazing things. But yet there was something deep inside of me that had gone wrong or had gone missing or whatnot. And so on the Camino, I came to a place where it was as if I learned for myself that I was enough. All my life, I've been volunteering everywhere, helping everywhere, doing a lot of things for different people, different organizations. And yet I recognized that it didn't matter what I did or didn't do, that God, the higher power, divine creator, however you may want to consider God, loves me, that I am enough. And in that, it gave me such a freedom and an energy that just burst forth. And it was like a new way of being. And everything in my life changed after 2011. My marital status, my profession, everything changed. And since that Camino, and since my other Caminos, I have been purposely putting the values of simplicity, the value of living out of a backpack and whatnot, and putting that into my life, to the point now I am now living in my little cottage, which is a very tiny space in Canada, considered in Canada, less than 550 square feet, just so that I can minimize possessions and things like that, and have a more focused life on things that really matter. Having said that, though, the Camino also transformed me, because I missed the pilgrims after I left the Camino, and I missed them so much that I started looking for pilgrims here in Canada, and did not even know that, you know, the countries outside of Spain have associations that you can connect with other pilgrims. And so in Canada, we have the Canadian Company of Pilgrims, and I just started getting involved there, became the chapter coordinator for my city, started connecting with other pilgrims here to hear their stories, to help prepare them as they go to Spain. Last year I joined the board, and now that path, I can't believe that from 2011, my first Camino, to now, that path led me to taking on the role as president of the Canadian Company of Pilgrims. And that's just like not even a full month yet. Like I just started. So I haven't even gone through
How you feel about it?
Well, I am so excited, but I'm also terrified, you know, because the folks that I meet have they're such beautiful people, and like they have such a high caliber of life. I have such respect for them. I don't want to let anybody down, right? So it's a role that I'm embracing because I feel I have something to offer. But on the flip side, I also am a little bit scared going, I just don't want to let down the organization and the people that love the Camino so much, because everybody is so passionate and have such a focus for the Camino. And these are the people that I'm working with now and trying to see how else we can support pilgrims here in Canada to get to Spain, right? That's the whole thing. And I'm pretty proud of the Canadian Company of Pilgrims. We, you know, through this whole COVID thing, it's like, how do you keep a little organization alive when nobody's walking a Camino, right?
Yeah.
And yet, you know, there's such great people there. They come up with creative ideas. And we went on a big fundraising campaign to send money to the albergues and to businesses in Spain and in Portugal and in France.
Yeah.
And, you know, I look at that and I think, like, you know, that's a really good thing we did, you know? So for me to take on the role now is both, you know, a little bit terrifying, but also really exciting for me, because it just ingrains that whole Camino spirit even more into my life. And that's what I wanted to do, right? I just, yeah.
I've been recently also become more involved on the Camino organizations, let's put it like this. And there is just so much work to be done.
Yes.
And I just felt that isn't enough, you know. We just want to do more and more and more. But there's also that sense of responsibility, you know.
Yeah.
You have to do good. You feel that you have to do good, you know. That's really, really important. But that means that we care.
Yes.
That means that we care.
And you know, I mean, it's because I love the Camino, right? I love the Camino. I love what it stands for. I love the fact that it is a pilgrimage. You know, I have done other really important walks. I have walked across Baffin Island in the Arctic in the north. That was a 10-day walk through nature and wilderness, and living out of a backpack and having no support, like no stores or anything. Like you just, you know, have to be prepared and be prepared for polar bears and things like that. I've walked parts of the Appalachian Trail to small bits. I've stood on the Inca Trail in Peru, and I've walked the Jesus Trail in Palestine, Israel. And all of those pieces are wonderful. Each one was a gift to me. But the Camino has a different flavor, and it has to do with the fact that on pilgrimage, you are meeting other pilgrims, other people journeying to the same goal. And in that journey, you know, they're examining their life, they're exploring joy, they're exploring hurt, they're exploring what they have to let go of, right? What they have to unpack in their life. And meeting people and hearing their stories and recognizing that we have a shared humanity, right? That's to me the essence of the Camino. And for me, you know, pilgrimage is really that outward experience and expression of what's going on inside, how you want to connect to your creator, or to connect to the pilgrims, or to nature, or to the land, and recognize that we are on that journey together, and yet it's a very personal inward journey. of
That's exactly.
growth,
Yeah.
right?
That's yeah. Yeah. And it's I don't know the feelings, the things that we go through while walking the Camino. Uh, that that is not uh, how can I put it this in words? um, Give us so much. Uh, like you said, it's a life changing adventure, and rebuilds us as a persons. And for example, just an example, on my latest Camino in December, it was such a hard way. It was just 5 days walking, but for that 4 days were just pouring rain. It was cold, lot of rain. I was wet. Uh, it was really really hard. I had uh, uh, some blisters. I had like this excruciating knee pain, and it was so harsh for me. It was just so 5 days, but it was really really hard. But realized that we as humans can go through these difficulties, uh, that we can conquer everything, just make us more strong,
Uh,
uh, when come back for our, let's put it, real life. Um, and so what the Camino had given to you exactly?
Well, for me, I have thought about this so much, what the Camino has given to me. So my first Camino gave me courage. It gave me courage to go and make necessary changes in my life. And they were hard changes. I was married for 30 years and that ended. So it was a hard change. And the job that I loved as being a minister, as a pastor, and the church that I was pastoring, the people I loved, I let that go. Those two changes were like huge. And my whole life had to change it. I moved, I packed up my kids, we moved, things like that. So there was a huge change, but I kept saying, if I can walk 800 kilometers across Spain, I can do this life too. And it gave me the courage to be more authentic to what was going on in my life, right? Having to be real,
Yeah.
bless you, and having to
Thank
be
you.
having to be real and make the necessary changes, so that I could live a more authentic life, and not hide what was really going on in my marriage and things like that. So the courage was the first thing. My Portugal route from out of Lisbon, sheer joy. Oh my gosh, it was just fun, fun, fun. Everywhere I looked, all the experiences, the people I met, even when things were hard, there was so much laughter. I have video upon video of my walking partner. I just laughing our heads off. And like I'd say, people would think that we're crazy because we had so much fun on that Camino. But it gave me such joy. And I recognized that in life, we have to have joy. And
Yeah.
that joy it just floods through me. And to this day, it carries me through my everyday here. And then the third one, go ahead, sneeze.
It's no, please continue.
The third one, my Camino del Norte, and I combined it with Inglés, was brutally hard. So like you in the rain and the hardship of it all and getting through it all, was so difficult at times, up and down and up and down. Del Norte, it never stops. It's all up and down, up and down. Very beautiful, but one mountain after another. And I learned that I'm very resilient. So that resilience I kind of rely on. But I also learned that it is okay to change your mind. And if something's not going well, get off the path and get onto the path that is going well. And at one point, I was missing the sunshine and the warmth of Spain. I kept thinking, gee, I left Canada for some warmth and I'm not getting that yet. So I need to find some good warmth. And I over to the Camino and walked down from there. And the weather was just a little bit better, a little bit nicer, a little bit hotter. And so that is what I went after. But resilience. So so yeah, those qualities that you can kind of pull out of your own journey. And then for me, I try to see where I can put that to my everyday life, right? So,
That's amazing. So let's talk about the moment of arrival.
oh my.
uh, I had to be honest. Now I cry all the time and I cry a lot, and I can't even describe my lead. I can't even describe three of the last four arrivals that I have walking on Santiago. But my first one, I don't know why, but was not kind of that special. It was maybe because it was on bike or because I wasn't on the right place. I don't know. But since that first one, every single rival, it's something that I can't put it in words how I feel of arriving to a place I have Praça da Braveira or the Cathedral of Santiago. It's and the latest OMG, I can I just can't, I just start crying just thinking about it. And it's something so special. It's a mix of the feelings where you want to walk more, but then you are arriving, and so talk us please, talk to us about your arrivals, please.
Okay. So I loved walking into Santiago, into the square, and feeling the energy that is there from the other pilgrims from arriving. When I first arrived in 2011, arrived actually not with my friend from Canada. I arrived actually walking in with a new pilgrim friend from Brazil, a gentleman who was walking, and at the end there I walked a little bit with him and walked into Santiago with him. And sadly, I just found out that he had passed away.
Oh,
And so his son sent me an email and told me that. And so, when I think about that first time, it's quite interesting. But I remember feeling that my heart was so full that I couldn't believe what I had accomplished, and I didn't even grasp it all yet. And I think when I was at the Pilgrim Mass and I got to see, okay, I'm going to get the word wrong, for the swinging of the incense that goes across the pilgrims in the church there in the cathedral. I was very overwhelmed, and the tears just flowed. And the tears flowed when I stood in front of the cathedral that day. 2017 and 19, those two times standing in front of the cathedral too, there was tears. And I think it maybe for different reasons, but I just find that the whole experience is always, a little bit overwhelming for me.
yeah.
But there's a part of me that just wants to keep on walking, right? And that's why so many pilgrims continue on to Finisterre or to Muxia. And I have yet to do that part. Both in 2017 and 19, that was planned for me to keep walking straight out of Santiago and continue to the ocean. But then things at home had shifted, and there was some emergency that I needed to go back home to. And so I did. So I left that. So that is still on the list of things to do. For my next Camino, I hope to add that to a Camino. But yes, that arrival is amazing. But what I also love in Santiago is that I like to stay there for a few days, and I love to go and sit in the square and watch the other pilgrims come in.
Oh, that is my favorite thing to do in Santiago.
Isn't it great? Like they come in, you see the groups come in and they're dancing and singing and jumping around. Others come in and drop and are overcome with emotion. You can see people, snapping pictures, and just the sense of wonder and excitement and awe is all there. It's all there to watch. And so I love that part too, looking and seeing the expressions of the pilgrims that come. I think that is also a gift.
I don't know. I'm not a quiet person. I'm just moving things. I'm just moving around and doing stuff. And but when I am at the square, sitting down and just watching the pilgrims, watching the cathedral, I can spend hours
Yes, me too.
there, just
Yeah.
sitting there and watching everything.
Yeah.
It's just that feeling of, for me, it's a feeling that I can't have in any more places, and instead of that place. It's a sense of inner peace that everything's okay, everything is good. And I just want to relive and relive and relive that moment again and again and again, because it's overwhelming. It's amazing. I can put it in one song.
Yeah.
So, Ellie,
I
what is? Yeah, please.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, what is the motivation for you to keep walking?
Probably, to be honest, probably twofold. One is that when I walk the Camino de Santiago, it is actually a time for me. It's my journey. I'm no longer having to be responsible to the people that I take care of. I don't have to do my work. I'm not having to take care of the household things. I have a time to be away from all the demands of my day. And that time then is, I'm just Ellie. I'm not mom, I'm not sister, I'm not daughter, I'm not anybody else. I'm just Ellie. And I think that that is, a very freeing experience, and to feel that freedom from the everyday responsibilities of life. So that is one big motivation for me to do my Caminos. I feel that the Camino has given me a strength to face many hardships in my life these last 10 years, and to face them, and not and with sheer determination, and like I have lots of joy in the last 10 years, and a lot of that has to do because of the Camino, even in the midst of hardship. And the other motivation for me is that whole idea of continuing to learn about who I am, what I believe, what makes life important, what is important about humanity when you're connecting with other people, someone, and you walk for hours and you have these long conversations that you never take, well, not ever, in your everyday life. And so you have a sense of the shared questioning and conversation about life and humanity. And I guess that just drives me, because I love people. I love the pilgrims, so it's yes, I love the Camino, the path, the walking, the nature, the communities that you go through, but I also love the pilgrims and walking with them. But the other piece about my Caminos, which is maybe a little different than many people, is that I also love to try to go out and have some fun. So if I'm in a city on a weekend, for example, I will go, like I did last time. I went salsa dancing. In my ugly pilgrim clothes, I would go and look for a place to go salsa dancing, because it's something I really, really love to do. And I would go, and even after walking 25 kilometers, and then the dancing starts at midnight, and you will dance till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then you go back to where you stay and, flop into bed and sleep, and then you're up and out the door by 7 in the morning and keep on walking. I did that because I felt I want to be experiencing the life there. And life in Spain is after 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock at
Yeah.
not when everybody else, all the pilgrims go to bed. So I made a very purposeful decision about not always staying in the albergues where you're locked in, because for me, I wanted to experience sitting at the square and watching the families go by, and eating good food late at night and things like that. So I always have that element in my Caminos. Sometimes I go swimming. In Portugal, I swam almost all the time. Like I'd find a river or the ocean or a lake we would deviate and go off to a little place to swim and then back on again and keep on going, So I just find different ways to enhance the experience, and I feel that that works for me. So
That's amazing. Let me tell you about the story that happened to me 3 years ago. So I was walking my first time the Primitivo, and after the initial hard time mentally, uh, I get to know these angels, how I call them. There was these three pilgrims, all of them were from Spain, and the Camino had joined us, and we had such a beautiful, fantastic time walking together. That we keep in touch almost every day since 3 years ago. And when we arrived, where in Melide, where the Primitivo joins with the French Camino, um, we went. It was my first time on eating pulpo, on that famous restaurant there. It was Ezekiel, I guess. Um, and I was just so blessed to be here. Uh, Me and this other girl, Guadalupe, we get drunk. We get drunk eating pulpo, basically. And after that, it was the only time that I get to learn Contra Camino was that day. Um, and we are not out like drunk. We are just happier than usual. And I don't know. We had like this song that it was our Camino song that is called in Spanish "A Santiago Voy," um, and there was like this scenery nearby the church of Santiago in Melide, and we get up on this scenery, on this stage, and start to dancing, uh, like uh, like it was the best day on earth, Just start dancing and just feel happy and just to live in the moment. And I kept this moment in mind because I was just so happy. I was just so free of mind and just happy. That is the word. And I had such a beautiful time with these people. And that moment, it was like the the the, the cherry on top of the cake.
yeah.
Was outstanding. Was amazing. I don't know. And okay, for other pilgrims, or for the people that was watching these scenes, maybe was not so happy, but for us was our moment. It was
Well,
really beautiful.
I understand that. I think that those moments just stay with you. So I had a similar moment because on Del Norte, I went actually with a woman from the Netherlands. We went to the salsa dancing, and the next day I was sitting with another pilgrim in a little bar having lunch, and just all of a sudden I heard Canada really loud through the whole restaurant, right? And I looked over, and there was a gentleman that was from the salsa dancing that he recognized me, and he's like, Canada, and he yells this, and he comes over and of course greets me. He pulls me off the chair and he starts salsa dancing with me in the restaurant. And of course, I'm like trying to explain to this other pilgrim what had happened, that, okay. And then he drags me outside to meet his friends who were all out there having a cigarette. And we start salsa dancing there on the street to no music. And it was just that moment of like absolute happiness, right? Same kind of thing, and then it was like, kiss goodbye. And that was it. And but I think of that moment, I go, it was so sporadic, so spontaneous.
It is spontaneous, yeah.
So spontaneous, like, nothing planned. And, I felt in that moment just a little bit more connected to the place that I was in, right? And I'm so grateful for those moments that I didn't just walk right through and not take the time to enjoy some of those little things that kind of just happen to you. But it's like all of it is just amazing. Not all of it is easy, right? There are moments where it's really, really hard, whether it is physical or whether it is mental or spiritual, and you have to fight through some things. But it is also just, for me, I walk away feeling stronger and even more passionate about life. I'm very passionate about life, but even more passionate about life. So yes, it's such a gift.
So an harsh question for you. Um, so now you are the president of Canadian Company of Pilgrims.
Yes.
Did you ever thought about it, the legacy that you pretend to live amongst the Camino community?
Okay, feel no pressure now. Um, yeah, well, I kind of look at what the vision, like for me, I would call that the vision. So what kind of legacy, what gift can I leave the Canadian Company of Pilgrims?
Yeah.
On a personal level, I hope that I can bring it energy and passion for the Camino. I would love to let others know that we're here. There are many Canadian pilgrims that don't even know that the Canadian Company of Pilgrims exists. So the whole idea of how do we get ourselves out there so that other pilgrims can find us and that they can become part of the chapters all across Canada and make pilgrim friends and relive their stories and share their stories when they come back and prepare when they go. That's what we're all about. And so just to be able to get us out there, to become more aware, and to just also develop stronger relationships internationally with the other associations. So those are kind of my goals or hopes for the future of the organization. But it is just another place for me to share my love of the Camino. And in fact, that's what our mission statement is sharing your love of the Camino and inspiring and engaging others on their way. Just that's kind of what we're supposed to do. So it just fits in with my life goals, right? So I felt again, it's one of those pieces where I want to align my life to the inner values that I actually have, right? So, and that is living simply, volunteering, helping other humans in this world to for their own journeys that they need to discover, provide whatever I can to an organization. These associations, they're all volunteer, right? And my next step is also hospitalero training. Like I really want to do that. So I just signed up for that here in Canada to do my training. So there are things about the Camino that is just kind of infecting all parts of my life in a really good way.
For me, being hospitalero, it's one of my best features, let's put it like that, because I just feel so blessed to be able to help pilgrims, to receive pilgrims, to welcome them, and it's not just I'm doing this for helping the pilgrims. Of course, part of being a hospitalero, it's my way to trying to say thank you to the Camino and to Saint James what they given to me and are still gave or still are given to me, but also it's a way to be good and it's for it to me to be connected with the Camino while not on the Camino, while not working.
And that is my reason to be involved with the association here, right? To be connected to the Camino when I'm not on the Camino. And the Camino community is like a family. Like it really is. It's amazing how connected we are internationally or within our own countries or within our own regions, you know, or within our own cities. And so sometimes when pilgrims come back, I really sense this, that pilgrims come off the Camino and they have so much that they want to share. But if they're talking to people that have never walked a Camino, they sometimes get these blank looks, you know, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, that's good for you. Because you don't understand it until you do it, right?
You don't
And
understand that. That's perfect.
so Camino folks have this, I don't know if all of them do, but they have this intense need, I know I do, this intense need of sharing my stories, of connecting with other people who have a shared story on the Camino. And so by connecting in these associations that are all internationally, I mean, I know they're in South Africa and Austria, you know, England, Denmark, Germany, you name it. You have a place to connect with other pilgrims. And then that Camino spirit kind of lives on when you're off the Camino, right? So again, it's, for me, it was like, how do I integrate this thing called the Camino that's in Spain, but how do I integrate that here now, every day? You know, not only personally in my own life and in my own belief system and in my own relationships, but also in my community. And so that's why I'm involved here. But I cannot wait to get back on the Camino, you know, and I don't know if it's, I'm hoping it's this year, but I don't know if it is, if it's this year or next, but you know, it is something that is really burning inside of me to just get out there and walk. So we'll see.
So Ellie, we're almost finishing here, but first, one last question and then a small request.
Okay.
So, if your Camino could be described as a word, what word would you choose?
One word?
One word, or one sentence.
Okay. I would just say life-giving, a life-giving journey for me.
So, for ending in a beautiful way, I'm asking pilgrims just to give a message for the people that will watch this video, that will hear this video, and for the pilgrims that will walk in the Camino. It's something like a message from the Camino to the Camino, whatever you feel to say, please.
Wow. So this is absolutely unrehearsed. So I think my message to anybody who would be thinking about walking or who has walked is that we live in this life, we have a journey to do, whether it's on the Camino or off the Camino, but it is only you who can do the journey. So when you walk the Camino, that Camino is for you to grow, to learn, to discover, to work through all your emotions, whether they're good or sad or happy. It's your journey, and only you can make those steps. And you know, be careful not to put your backpack too full. And I don't mean by physically, I mean emotionally and mentally, what you carry, to offload things as you journey, and not to carry other people's burdens. It's yours. That journey is yours, not anybody else's. And from that, when you're true to your own journey, you will find and discover that will flood into other areas of your life as you have your regular journey in life, if you allow it to, and you'll find that inner strength. I'm just convinced of that. So, and to, you know, remember we're human. Grace to others, you know, to be gracious to others, and gracious definitely to yourself as you wander your journey.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Ellie, for sharing part of your community with us. And I just feel so blessed to meet you. Thank you so much. And I really hope that our Camino can be joined together some way around.
That would be great to have a crisscross somewhere on the Camino, right? Like
yeah.
Santiago or somewhere else. You know, many blessings to you as you pursue your own journey as well. It's really important to be true to who you are and to go forward. So that's awesome.
Buen camino.
Buen camino.